analyst John Tonje. Now, I want to ask because I know David, you're good with knowing these stuff. David always knows the random facts. So, would would it be possible? Like, I know because I know after, if we didn't, if John Tonje, like after we don't give him anything else, I know he would default to the main Celtics roster. But would he just go back to the two-way position, or would we have to give him another two-way contract?
Um,
If if someone could do their research really quick to look at this,
so
because
if we just so I understand your question, if we let the 10-day contract expire with Tonje,
he
do
would
we?
not go back to a two-way. We'd just have to re-sign him to a two-way contract, correct? If you want to look that up, David. All right, and
And
Andrew,
yeah,
while he's doing that, do you want to talk about John Tonje and your thoughts of this acquisition? Because I'll save mine for after. But what are your thoughts?
No, I really like John Tonje. He's been averaging probably 18.5 points a game between the SLC Stars and the main Celtics. And to me, he's got good size on him. He's a pretty headsy player, very smart, and he can knock down the three ball. So to me, he's a guy that's very capable, and I wouldn't have mind seeing him on the Celtics roster. So while David's doing this research, I actually really do hope that we do find a way to keep him within this organization, continue to develop him, and kind of see where we can utilize him down the line. I really like this guy. I really do.
Yeah. Do you have it for us?
according to Google here, potentially Google Gemini, so AI on the helping out here. If an NBA player does not get another 10-day contract after their first or second one expires, they become an unrestricted free agent, allowed to sign with any team. They are not subject to waivers, so they can sign a rest of season deal elsewhere, return overseas, or look for an opportunity in the G League. So it's up to Tonje what he wants to do.
So also could return to the main Celtics, I feel like. So
yeah,
if he wants to, it's up to him completely.
I think we sign him back to a two-way contract. I think I like that kind of move for the Celtics. I think either that or sign him to a 2-year deal. I wouldn't mind that because I'm a big fan of Tonje. Like I really like Tonje, and I feel like especially last night, like I feel like they have more trust in Tonje than they do Delano Banton. Because I look at Tonje and he was killing it for the main Celtics, had 29 points at the game that Daniel and I went to. But on top of that too, they didn't play him last night, and they've been very strategic about playing him. So I feel like he's more a guy where they have more trust in, and they're more willing to give a contract to Tonje rather than a Delano Banton. Like I feel like last night they kind of gave Delano Banton, as you mentioned, David, that those times to kind of showcase his talents to other teams. But with John Tonje, it's like, they know what they got, and maybe he's on the mix of getting either a contract or going back with a two-way contract. But what are your thoughts on this though, David?
Yeah, I'm just trying to look up some other things too with like roster construction, and the Celtics right now have 16 people in their bucket of players, and I think it's 14 active roster players, and then is it Shulga and Ron Harper, the two ways?
Yep.
So we have an open two-way
Two-way.
spot, and 100% I could see that being Tonje. I mean, we traded for this guy. Like, obviously, Brad Stevens sees something in him.
right.
We wouldn't trade for him for no reason. So I think there's absolutely a path for him to stay with the Celtics in some capacity for sure. I wouldn't hate seeing that as well. I don't know a ton about the guy, but in those few minutes I saw him play against Phoenix, it looked like, he was a guy who played with some good hustle, pretty good frame, as like a lanky kind of wing with some height that can maybe disrupt a little bit defensively. So I'm 100% open to keeping him around for sure. And that's why Brad Stevens keeps that open spot. It's just, having flexibility in the roster one way or another. So I think there's absolutely a path for him to stay in some sort of capacity.
Yeah, and this really comes down to it, and I think we can get into this now and kind of go there. It really depends on Ron Harper and
Well,
what
I
we do with him.
I have a couple more things to
Oh,
say.
my bad. I did want to jump ahead. My bad.
No, you're good. You're good. But I'm even looking at this like from the perspective of two-way positions because I was looking back and for a while, at least the first couple of years, the Celtics keep a full two-way position, all three of the spots. Because last year, after waiving Anton Watson, they signed Miles Norris to a two-way contract to just fill that hole, all three of them. Do you guys? It's just a question because I noticed Keon Johnson came back last night for the main Celtics. I think it could either go to Tonje or Keon Johnson. I don't know if you guys. I know I'm very high on Keon Johnson because I like what he can provide, but it looks like it would be interesting having three guards at two-way positions. But I wouldn't mind it. I think either a John Tonje or a Keon Johnson, but we go around. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, I
Because we
still like
sorry.
I know I jumped the gun, but I still do think it matters, like what they do with Ron Harper for sure.
Yeah.
And I think Keon Johnson is a more so proven guy in the NBA, and he had a nice little stint with the Brooklyn Nets, making a pretty solid impact. He's a capable scorer. He can defend pretty well. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind either way. I think yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind either way, to be honest. And do you know how he did last night? Do you know what he
Um
scored?
there's 40 seconds of film of him. Let me go look it up while David's saying what he thinks about Keon Johnson. Let me go look it up.
41 seconds, Griffin.
Oh, there was 40 seconds of film that was posted. But let me go look it up. What do you think?
40 seconds, that's pretty good. That sounds good to me.
I completely forgot about the whole Keon Johnson experience before that was brought up, Griffin. I am all for Keon Johnson getting elevated. Just for the sheer fact of, like you talked about, Andrew, we have a guy who has NBA experience, a whole season of NBA experience basically underneath his belt last season. He played 79 games in Brooklyn. He played 25 minutes a night, averaging.
He averaged like 10.
Points.
Yeah, 10 points.
Yes.
10.6 points per game, just under 39% from the field, and just over 31% from deep. So, we're kind of splitting hairs at this point because we're talking about like the 16th and 17th people on the finalized playoff roster for the Celtics, a team that, is expected to hopefully make another deep run in the playoffs. But I want as many NBA proven talent people, 1 through 17 on my roster. And I think a guy like Tonje could become that at some point. It seems like the way that they were talking about him at the end of the broadcast on the Phoenix game, that he has a lot of potential, but potential versus reality is something that needs to be put into play. And we know what just a year ago Keon Johnson could do. And obviously he's been, trying to figure things out in Maine for the better part of this season ever since we acquired him. But that is an interesting one that I completely forgot about. I'm all for elevating Keon Johnson in some way.
Yeah, you don't, and you make a good point with having that NBA experience. And we are splitting hairs in some ways with the 16th and 17th roster spot. But I will say, just a couple of years ago in our playoff run, a guy like Xavier Tillman is knocking down huge shots. I mean, there's so many different guys that were making impact. I mean, you have Torrey Craig every once in a while getting a couple minutes here and there and being a little disruptive. I mean, when you get into this latter half of the season, it's all hands on deck. You don't know who's going to be ready for the playoffs. A guy like Shireman, or I don't want to just use Shireman because I picked on him a little here and there, and he's playing phenomenal. But a guy like Sam Hauser might hit a cold streak, right? There's so many variables that go into a NBA playoffs where you want to have as many guys in your arsenal that could potentially make an impact and help you win a championship.
Yeah, because last night he had 10 points, 3 rebounds, only played 18 minutes. I think he was on a minutes restriction because he's been out. Geez, Andrew, we were trying to interview him one day. He's been out for the whole season practically. So, but I look at him as well, and I don't know how it would work when it comes to playoffs, but I feel like even if you sign him to a two-way contract this late in the season too, playoff wise, you could have him play a lot because he hasn't used up a lot of that NBA time.
True.
I don't know if it's you have to play like a certain amount of games in the G League, then NBA, or if you could just play a bunch of minutes in the NBA. But that could be a guy that they could even insert and you have him on a two-way. So who knows? I like Keon Johnson, but anyone else want to add anything onto that? All right, Andrew, you could click it now. I'm gonna let you.